Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Malden School Committee meeting on Monday, May 7th. Before we begin, I'd ask everyone to please place your phones on vibrate and keep your conversation to a minimum during tonight's meeting. A couple of notes. First is the Budget Subcommittee will be meeting tomorrow night, May 8th. That'll be at 6 p.m. in Central, the central office here at 200 Pleasant Street. And then also the Budget Subcommittee is planning to meet next Monday, May 14th, and that will be at 5 p.m. in the central office located here at 200 Pleasant Street. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Malden School Committee will take place on Monday, June 4th, here at 7 p.m. So without further ado, I'd ask everyone to please rise and salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I ask everyone to please remain standing for a moment of silence for our veterans, both who have served and those that continue to serve us abroad. Thank you. Clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Christensen?
Here.
Ms. Cabral?
Here.
Mr. D'Souci? Ms. DiMaria? Here. Mr. Sack? Here. Mr. Foyle? Here. Mr. Iavino?
Here.
Mr. Waldi?
Here.
Mr. Winslow?
Here.
Superintendent DeRusi?
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Kasabian? Here. Student Representative Mallory McDonald?
Okay, sufficient quorum exists to conduct business. Our first order of business, if there be no objection from the committee, I would ask that Mr. Iavino lead us in a moment of silence for Mr. Famigletti. So let me turn it over to Mr. Iavino to say a few words.
Very recently, the city of Malden, specifically Malden High School, suffered the loss of one of its faculty members, Mr. Paul Famigletti. And I would ask those in attendance to please rise as we stand for a moment of silent meditation to honor Mr. Famigletti's memory. I thank the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Iavino. Okay, our first order of business now will be the approval of the minutes of April 9th, 2012. Motion by Mr. Iavino, seconded by Ms. Doucette. Any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes of April 9th are hereby approved. The next order of business is public comment. Anybody wishing to address the school committee, please rise, step forward, and state your name and address for the record. Anybody wishing to address this wonderful body of individuals? Going once, going twice. All right, public comment is hereby closed. The next order of business now, we're going to the superintendent's reports. First up will be a presentation by Shore Collaborative, and this is being led by Ms. DiMaria.
Thank you. Thank you. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce the Executive Director of Shore Collaborative, Ms. Jackie Clark. Just a brief synopsis. Jackie received her bachelor's and master's degree from BU. She has spent 30 years of her career working with children and adults with disabilities. And this evening, she's just going to share a couple of ideas of what Shore Collaborative, how Malden is included with Shore Collaborative. So please join me in welcoming Jackie Clark.
Okay, thank you, Ms. DiMaria. Have you approach the podium?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Di Maria, for inviting me here, and all of you this evening. Ms. Di Maria is your appointee to the Shore Collaborative Board, which meets 10 times a year, once a month. Tomorrow, we'll meet again. And really, as one of the 7 charter members, Malden has been involved in the establishment of Shore since the mid-'70s. Basically, Malden, Medford, Chelsea, Everett, Revere, Saugus, Winthrop. I usually do that alphabetically, so I hope I got them all. Came together in the mid-'70s to provide special ed together more efficiently for, in those days, 1 or 2 youngsters that you might have each had from your school districts, that it didn't make sense to set up a classroom for one medically challenged individual, or someone with mental illness and behavior problems, someone who was blind. But if the 7 communities got together and formed a collaborative, you could more efficiently and in a better quality way hire us to do that. So that's basically how Shore sort of evolved as the other 29. There's 30 collaboratives statewide in the mid-'70s. Since then, we've added 5 other adjunct members: Cambridge, Somerville, Waltham, Boston, most recently, Northeast Folk. So there's 12 communities that continue to send students to us. We have currently 178 students. We have classrooms in 2 Medford public schools, 2 Saugus middle schools, Revere High School. We always want to move the continuum so that kids are moving back into public schools and ultimately back into your district. We also have a large school, Henry Owen Center, named after the first executive director at Shore, on the Revere Beach Parkway in Chelsea. Currently, Malden, as of Friday, but that changes all the time, sends 19 students to Shore Collaborative. It is so changing because our mission is truly to get kids the assessment they need, the education they need, the behavior programs they need, and then bring them back to your district, to their neighborhood schools. It's a cost savings for you. It's where the kids should be. So, some students of yours at Shore Collaborative are very medically challenged, are in wheelchairs, and need total care for all aspects of their programming. They may stay at Shore. This may be the best place for them. They have a peer group with students from other communities. But others that come for a 45-day assessment, maybe there's a discipline problem, or just a problem that no one's sure. A change in the home situation has provoked a major change in the student's behavior. They may come just for an interim 45-day placement. We do some evaluations, work with your team, and transition them back to your school district. The tuition that you'll pay this year for 21 students was last month, 19 this month. Across the year, it's about $780,000. We look at, for our purposes of trying to demonstrate and always ensure that we are the efficient and quality service providers for you, we look at what an average sort of private school placement, similar to the same services we're providing, might have cost. And when you do that, that would have been $1,173,000 for savings of about $415,000. So it is a cost savings. We are an extension of you. You are represented on our board quite well and have been over the years. We also provide Medicaid billing for you. Your therapists, nurses, people in the district take very good notes and copious accounting of their time. And then for children who are Medicaid eligible, we do the Medicaid billing for them, and you, of course, get the proceeds of that. We do professional development. We've done a monthly series throughout the Malden schools on para-educators, for para-educators once a month, and you know, really teaching them skills and professionalizing them in the jobs they do. Another big component and a unique component of Shore Collaborative, unlike some other collaboratives, is our adult services. I originally started actually as the director of adult services nearly 20 years ago with 40 adults. Now there's 358 adults served by Shore at our Chelsea, Peabody, and Woburn locations. It's grown so much because we're so good at it. Again, we have the full range of adults with disabilities. Many of them have turned 22 from your community and moved into our day or employment or rehabilitation services. If they're ready to move on to a job in the community or some other program by preference or skill, they can do that, but they can also stay a lifetime. We at Shore, we literally today have age ranges from 3.5 to probably 82 now is our oldest individual. So it's a full range of services and really quite good services. You will hear, you have probably already heard and read of collaboratives in the news. There was a collaborative last year that misused funds and was, as a result, as there should have been, there has been legislation in hearings. I have been very involved in the hearings. The reform on collaboratives did not worry us at all. I suggested to the legislators, to the DESE, that if they were looking for a model collaborative and how business is done right, they could come to your collaborative, which is Shore. The issue that was really of great concern to us was the adult services provision. There was some debate as to whether collaboratives were an appropriate service provider of adult services. And we've been doing that since the 70s, as kids, you know, that were very disabled, were in institutional settings. When they turned 22, they continued to live there, and we continued to provide them services. That's how it started. And now we're very big community providers. So that provision was grandfathered in for the few of us in the state that are providing adult services. That will continue. The bill was passed in March on collaborative reforms, and I'm happy to say that with very few exceptions, we have already conduct business in the way that it's called for. They call for six board meetings a year. We have 10. They call for an independent audit every year. We have done that since 1976. So we are really, part of the legislation is a regular quarterly report back to each of our school committees by your board members. So you'll be hearing much more about us throughout the year and following years from Ms. DiMaria. But I think that's the summary. I'll be glad to take any questions, but certainly thank you for the invitation to speak for you tonight.
Thank you as well. Ms. DiMaria?
Thank you so much, Jackie. We appreciate your coming forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, no other lights. 1 second, we have a light from Mr. Winslow.
I just thank you so much for coming tonight. It's great to know that, I know it has been an issue with other collaboratives, so it's good to know that we're moving forward with legislation, and Ms. DiMaria will be taking part in the meetings and making sure the collaborative serves these interests. I think for me personally, it's always a measure of a community that we also, we face the needs of the range of all people, whether you're gifted or challenged. So you're doing great work, and I definitely will, work with Ms. DeMaria so that we're making sure we're asking right questions as a board and keeping abreast of what's going on with the collaborative and make sure we're fulfilling our fiscal responsibilities. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for your great work. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Winslow. Any other members? Okay, once again, thank you and
Thank you.
welcome. All right, our next order of business, we'll now hear from the superintendent on recent accomplishments in the Malden Public Schools.
Thank you, Mayor, Chair. I would like to take a little deviation from my usual listing of accomplishments to really focus on what's happened in the district over the last couple of days, weeks. You know, accomplishments are often measured in titles and awards, but there are times when an accomplishment, you know, doesn't earn or bring a specific award or a title. So I'd like to recognize a district's ability to come together and make a difference as a collective group as an accomplishment. And we saw this in several ways that I'd like to bring to people's attention. Last Thursday, we had a great event, the Special Olympics, and that happened on May 4th. I mean, it was cold, it was rainy, it was dreary, but Malden Public Schools, the district, came together and put a multi-district Special Olympic Day together. We brought districts from as far out as Hamilton, Wenham to join us. There were, Medford was there were just a ton of kids. And the chair and I were there, and these kids did not, it could have been snowing, it could have been 400 degrees. They were just so happy to be there. They took such pride in the events. But again, as you look out, you see administrators, you see teachers, you see student volunteers, you see office help. It was amazing to watch this district come together and put such an event. It was really a moment where you have to acknowledge the accomplishments of a district. I spent 7 years as a high school principal, and I was fortunate never to have to suffer the loss of a student or a high school staff member. And that's fortunate when you are a building principal. With the passing of Mr. Pham, a well-respected and loved member of Malden High School, you saw an entire district, again, come together to support this man, his family, his wife, who was a teacher at the Forestdale. It was amazing how fast, you know, Principal Brown pulled people together, put the supports in place. Dr. Orm changed her vacation so that she could chaperone a Washington trip because Mr. Pham and his wife were supposed to chaperone that trip. Support just came out of every corner of this district. It was impressive. And I think those are when districts come together, whether it's in the face of adversity or whether it's for something fun like a Special Olympics, that you pull a district, and the accomplishment doesn't have an award to it. It doesn't have a title. It's the fact that people do this. Everyday professionals in this district work hard for students in the community they work in. Most of these moments are not great, noteworthy moments. They're simple moments. A child or a family in need of clothes, somebody in that building decides to run a little rap, talk to the staff, bring in the extra clothes, give them to a family. Homeless families in need of support, again, a building, a district rallies around to help them out. Every day in our district, colleagues, and we've had a series of losses over the last couple of months. In their time of need and sorrow, somebody in those buildings reach out to them. Bottom line is, there's the accomplishments of a district. There's no award. There's no title earned. It's when you know that the people in this district, on the drop of a dime, in any crisis, or for any moment of celebration, can pull together and make it happen. And as a new superintendent, I want to applaud this district's ability at all levels to be able to do that, because I think that's what makes Malden a special place. So that's why I wanted to break from the usual who won an award, what title, to say that, you know, this district deserves a giant heads up, thank you. It's been great working. You guys pull together on the good, the bad, and you make it happen. So I want to thank the district as a whole.
All right, well said, Superintendent. Next, you wanted to update the committee on innovation schools.
We had a very, very good meeting with the staff of the Linden the other day. I was with Marguerite, the union president. We sat down and we listened to a staff really open itself up about its fears, about its concerns, really about learning how to deal with each other. And I left that meeting and I had a lot to think about as a superintendent, because I think what was said in that even moved beyond innovation, but really struck at developing a culture in a district that allows for healthy discourse, that promotes communication, and makes people feel good about being in this district. I think the innovation school is on track still. I feel that it's scary. It's scary because innovation, the word, creates fear in people. But I believe it's on track. I think Rich, as a first-year principal, is doing a great job. His staff is open and supportive. It does come to a vote. Rich is doing some work on that. I think the key message that I even put out to the staff is innovation doesn't happen overnight. It is a 5-year progressive plan. So when you hear that things may not look different next year if Linden goes to innovation, that's the reality, because you have to build things in. The innovation piece is seeking the autonomy to do that. So I feel we're in a good place. I still believe we're in a good place. And we will wait and see. I've been working with Rich, advising Rich. Marguerite's been working with the both of us, advising us, and I think we're still on track. Time will tell, but I feel good about it.
Do you want to wait for questions until the end? Do you want to take them topic by topic?
We can go topic by
All
topic
right.
if that makes
Question
people
on the innovation school update from Mr. Weldy.
Dr. Drusi, can we talk a little bit about a timeline? Because we've got one meeting at the beginning of June, one meeting at the end of June. Do we know when their staff is expected to actually vote on this plan?
Yes, I believe Rich has the vote ready to go at the end of the month. He's republished his timeline so that people were clear on dates, times, and events. Sometimes I think we rely just a little too much on email. And you have to go to this public forum where you sit and talk to people. Maybe I'm old school. That's why my emails are usually 2 sentences long. I'd rather have you call me, or I'd rather talk to you. Things get lost in email. Face-to-face is better, and I think Rich is understanding that he needs to be out and more visible now. And he's meeting with people, he's talking to people. The timeline is the end of the month. Again, it is to move forward with innovation, not to be an innovated school by the end of this year.
Now, if the vote's expected to take place end of May, are you expecting us to vote on it our first meeting in June, or are we looking at end of the month in June? Because I'm thinking if this is it's a very quick turnaround, and one of the missing pieces for me personally is, you know, I appreciate all the work that you and Marguerite have been doing with Rich and the staff. For me, I would want to hear a lot of feedback as well from the people who this is going to directly affect, which is the staff and Rich. And we saw the initial plan, but I think that, you know, I would love some in-between time between their vote and our vote to sort of actually hear from staff, actually see the results of the vote, see the completed plan. So I don't know what timeline you're sort of building in for us. I guess not necessarily for them, more for us.
What I'll do is I will consult with Rich. I will see if Rich would like to hold another public meeting on this as an update. I will make sure that school committee members are also invited to that. I will get the updated version of it. We have it electronically, and I'll send it out to all of you to double check.
Okay, any other questions of the members that answer your question?
Well,
Mr. Weldy?
just a final note, the important piece for me would be if we are going to have a public meeting, another public meeting about innovation, it would be nice if we were able to hear from both staff and parents. So to me, I wouldn't want to go to a nighttime meeting where I would hear from 100 parents and not hear from a single staff member. So I think that it would be important for me to sort of be able to hear from both constituencies. if possible. But that's my final note.
All right, so
Thank you,
noted.
Superintendent, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions on this topic? If I might, one from the chair. If the idea was adopted, is there a fiscal impact in fiscal year 13?
This costs the district no money. It
Okay.
would be, the first year, they will give money to the Linden School to continue to move forward. Because, let's just pick one aspect of it. If the Linden decides we're going innovation and project-based learning is going to be the vehicle to drive enrichment, then next year, the state would give X amount of dollars towards the innovation school, and then they would have that money and the autonomy to use it for the purpose of beginning to train teachers. Rich already has a 4th grade that's willing to pilot this approach, so then PD comes into the building through the grant to sustain itself. So there is no fiscal impact.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent. Final item under the superintendent's reports, budget update.
Okay, I sent out a letter to my school committee, leadership team, and the district. We received our net school numbers, and the estimated projected net school spending for FY13, which is calculated by the state, will be approximately $55,550,000. Now, that's without any indirect cost. And Mayor Christensen, in his preliminary figures for FY13, provided the school in excess of that net school spending. So I have a budget of $56,024,918 to work from. As I've explained to my leadership team, there are certain factors that will come into play in my FY13 budget. I have a level-funded budget at a zero-based budgeting model of $57,683,118. That would be to level fund the school district, as is. There is a gap in part due to a series of situations, the biggest one being the lack of federal stimulus money right now, really to the tune of over $2 million. And the cost of doing business, transportation, operation, and management costs going up. So I've been able to meet with my leadership team, define the context, draft a budget meeting that $56 million, and vetted it out. They're going to give me their feedback. I have a budget subcommittee meeting planned for tomorrow night to do the same thing, put the numbers out on the table, begin to brainstorm. I am working with union presidents at the clerk level, administrative assistants, as well as Unit A and B. And my goal would be to present a level budget to the city council by June. I think it's doable. We can make these cuts. We can do what we need to do. We're looking at it district-wide. We're not looking at one specific area, but we will work it out. I have a lot of faith in my leadership team as well as the budget subcommittee to help guide me through this process.
Questions of the superintendent? Okay, hearing none, then please be reminded, tomorrow night, 6 p.m., Central Office will be the meeting of the Budget Subcommittee to discuss the next steps moving forward.
Can I just make one quick side announcement that I'll send a Connect Ed call out. It'll go out tomorrow, but Malden Public Schools, I'm inviting, every voice to join into the conversation. We have a perspective on the district survey that will be live tomorrow, Tuesday, May 8th. You can reach that survey through Malden, the school website, malden.mec.edu, and also at the city site, cityofmalden.org. We had talked throughout this year about K-12 Insight. It's a survey company coming in. This is really the first survey where we can begin to glean data and information from the stakeholders to help us bring it back into the district and plan forward. So I would encourage people to go online. It's not a long survey, it's a quick survey. You'll be done in probably 10, 15 minutes max, and give us your feedback. And I would ask the mayor to remind his people upstairs to maybe send a little Twitter or Facebook out on that.
Okay, any other questions for our superintendent? Okay, thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you.
The next order of business, subcommittee reports. First up will be the Policy Subcommittee, and they will be reporting on the 2012-2013 school calendar. This discussion will be led by Mr. Winslow.
All right, thank you very much. After our last full school committee meeting, the request was to do some more community outreach related to the policy and the memo that was prepared for last meeting, get that out further. So I did forward that on to Karen Hayes in the mayor's office, and she got into contact with the Interfaith Council and distributed the memo there, so that the folks from that council had the opportunity to review that. And I think basically the feedback I heard from Karen was that they appreciated that that effort was made. They thought this was the perfect kind of vehicle to get that input, and really didn't have any objections from anybody from that. So that was the one thing that we did. And then we also, last Monday, we did have a public forum. We got notices out to invite the public to come out. There wasn't a big attendance. Marguerite from the MEA came out and basically spoke favorably from the teacher's point of view. So, and I know individual members may speak up now, but the sense is that individual members have heard from their constituents, and generally the support's been positive with the community. So I think now it would just be open up to individual members for their input. So basically what's under consideration is what's called Calendar B, which was put forth last committee meeting with the thought that rather than specific religious observance days, we will have no test, no project days, and then expand the number of what we call observational days that would be offered to staff, that they would be asked to, by September 1st every year, identify their own observational days, which could coincide with their own religious practices or not. So that's the proposal the policies committee putting forward, and that's the public outreach that's gone forward. So I just open it up to the rest of the committee if they have any comments, and then go for a vote. So.
Okay, so questions on the subcommittee's report. I'm going to swing left, go to Ms. Doucette, and then we'll go to Mr. Iavino.
Thank you. I also sit on the policy subcommittee, and I believe this is a great idea. It's out of respect to all different faiths, to be inclusive. And I've also received many emails, people saying that it's a breath of fresh air. It's a long time coming, and it's a great move. So I received all positive feedback, and I hope it will be adopted.
Thank you, Ms. Doucette. Mr. Iavino.
I just want to say thank you to the hard work that Mr. Winslow and his committee have put forward on this. This is a tough issue to wrestle with because it's a change in the calendar that's been part of the Malden Public Schools for a number of years. But the time has come to change that, as our city has undergone a series of changes in terms of demographics and in terms of our ethnic makeup of our population and our school population. I believe that this proposal that's put forward before us tonight that we will be voting on is a very fair and it's an equitable solution. I've always been a proponent that if we're going to do away with them, we do away with all of them, or we keep all of them. That's the only fair way. So I, too, will be happy to support this proposal, Calendar B. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iavino. Any other comments? Ms. Cabral.
Thank you. Steve, I'd just like to say I did send this out to all of the Ward 1 constituents, and they got back to me all very positive feedback. There was concern about staffing for certain days, and I did forward those questions on to the subcommittee, and they answered, and I got copied on those emails, basically to let us know that the staff would have to let us know by September 1st, if I'm not mistaken, to ensure that there was enough coverage for those religious holidays. Again, I got positive feedback from Ward 1, so I too would support this.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cabral. Ms. DiMaria.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also sat on the Policy and Procedures Subcommittee. It was a tough role to work through this, but I encourage everyone to embrace this change. I am the delegate for the citywide PTOs and their presidents, and in speaking with them, they are in full support of this. They thought this was a great idea, and so hats off to everyone on the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DiMaria. Mr. Weldy.
I think this is just another reason why Malden as a community stands out above the rest. I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised at the overwhelmingly positive response I've gotten from my constituents. I expected a little bit more pushback from parents. I expected a little more pushback from the religious communities, and I think what we got was the opposite. I understand and acknowledge that there are challenges that we'll have to face inside the school system, but I think, you know, if we have a superintendent who's able to effectively pull together a budget proposal in less than 2 months for an entire district, I think 7 months to plan 1 day of absences is doable. And I think we as a district can stomach that. And I have faith that he can do that. You know, with the changing roles of the school committee, the only real major duties we have anymore are budget and policy. And this is a great example of policy. Because I have taken many votes as a school committee member, this is undoubtedly one of the proudest. I think it signifies that, you know, it signifies that we support religious tolerance and acceptance, but as a group, you know, we'll be acknowledging that we're a new Malden, that we're a diverse Malden, and that we're proud of that. So I said it last time, it's a small change, but it's a very meaningful change. And it doesn't come without hard work, so I thank the policy committee for all the hard work they put in. And I know that Mrs. DiMaria has been working on researching other districts for quite some time now. So I know that that whole committee should be commended, as should the leadership from the chair, because without that, and it's what, you know, something different now, that this would not be possible. So I look forward to voting yes on this.
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Weldy. Any thoughts from our superintendent? And we'll get to Mr. Froyo. Superintendent, can you hold 1 sec? Let me get to Mr. Froyo.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also have received no objections to this. I think it's really fair to all the religions, and it's better than the teachers and students going to school almost till July, having all the days off. So I would also like to thank the committee for all the hard work they did.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Froyo. Superintendent DeRusi.
From experience, my daughters went to school in a district where the district moved to basically taking away and moving forward on all the religious holidays. Excuse me. The school survived. My daughters learned. And I think we'll be able to do that here in Malden without a problem. Again, a lot of hard work. I saw the struggles in the faces of the policy committee when they were trying to bounce this back and forth. Honestly, I think we'll be okay. This is a pretty resilient district. We'll do what we need to do, and we'll get through that first year, and then after that, it will be business as usual. I do like the idea of the earlier days. I was fortunate this year not to have to call a snow day. The idea that yes, it's still early enough, it could snow tomorrow, but the idea would be that, you know, to have that bank of days, because when you run into those snowy winters, it's June 28th, it's June 29th. We'll get our kids in school, we'll work with them, we'll make them smarter. That's what we do. After next year, this will be business as usual.
Thank you, Superintendent. And if I might, from the chair, I too want to compliment Chairman Winslow and the other members of the subcommittee. This is an issue that has vexed this body for over 10 years now. And so to have Mr. Winslow and the members of his team put forward a proposal that has, you know, the agreement by all the affected parties is, to me, simply remarkable, and you ought to be commended for that. I, too, want to join all of you here in saying this will be a moment in time that I will always remember, because for the past 10 years we have, you know, created this melting pot, you know, here in the city of Malden, one of the true melting pots around. But the question has become, how do you move it forward? And tonight, we are answering how to move it forward. So I just want to end by how I began, by really saying thank you to you and the other members of the subcommittee, and you've done such good work. I'm thinking about asking you to come into the mayor's office tomorrow and help out on a couple of other matters. You really have, you've really done a great job. So with that being said, if there be no objection, we will reach down and take up the consent part of this report under consent agenda number 1, approval of the 2012-2013 school calendar. We have any objection to taking that out of order? The chair hears none. We now have a motion by Mr. Winslow to adopt the school calendar for 2012-2013, seconded by Ms. DiMaria. Any other questions? Any other discussion? Okay, to make this sure this is officially recorded in the books, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. DiMaria? Yes. Mr. Set? Yes. Mr. Froyle? Yes. Mr. Iavino?
Yes.
Mr. Waldai?
Very proud, yes.
Mr. Winslow?
Yes.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes. Congratulations. All right, the next order of business, we are now going to go back in order. We're now under deliberations, and the first order of business there will be exterior school landscaping, and this will be led by Mr. Iavino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I live in an area very close to Malden High School, and my question is, with the completion of the $77 million renovation to the high school, which is a beautiful job, it seems to be one area that has been neglected, and that's the exterior. I was wondering if there is a plan to employ landscaping to take care of the grass that's very, very high, and I realize that the DPW is strapped for manpower, and they have parks that they have to take care of because of the Little League and soccer games that are going to be played. But I was just wondering if there is any plan to either employ a landscaping company or ask the DPW somehow to fit it into their schedule so that they can take care of the very, very high grass at Malden High School.
Did you want to address this, Superintendent?
I think I'd leave that one to you.
Thank you. Superintendent says he will leave that to me. I will work on this. I'll look into this first thing in the morning. I'm not sure what the setup is there for landscaping, but either way, I'll try and address the issue.
The whole,
In the mic,
the whole area would be enhanced by having somebody come in with a lawnmower and just do a little TLC would add a great deal of ambiance to the building, because the exterior does look good with the additions that were done as part of the renovation, but unfortunately, what you see first is the tall grass, and I'm certainly hopeful that that can be taken care of.
Fair enough. Mr. Froyo?
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to report to Mr. Iavino that on the way to the meeting this evening, I saw the landscaper cutting the grass. And
How's that for service, Mr.
Okay.
Iavino?
You sure it wasn't a goat? Not a goat, it was a landscaper, okay.
So there you have it, Mr. Iavino.
Ask and you shall receive.
All right.
Imagine that?
What's your cell phone service?
Later, I'll.
Mr. Iavino, I will try and find out what the setup is there and report back to you.
Thanks
Okay.
very much, appreciate that.
All right, so any other questions for Mr. Iavino? Mr. Winslow?
I'm just curious, is the high school building project officially closed out now, or are there still punch list items?
Still punch list items.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because I know one of the things I observe on the back side of the building, I don't know if this is on the punch list, but the sidewalk on the back side there, the driveway into the back side of the building does not have a ADA ramp, so that on the, I don't know, it's Center Street or Eastern Avenue right there, but there's a need for a curb cut there. I don't know if Mr. Norton has that on his list, but I had spoken to him. I'm just curious.
All right, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
I think it
Mr.
is,
Iavino?
I think it is on Mr. Norton's list, Mr. Winslow.
All right.
I do believe so.
Okay, so we'll look at that, Mr. Winslow, thank you. Now we have Mr. Froyo.
as an aside, I was just wondering, is there going to be a grand opening for the high school once everything's completed?
I
You know,
thought we
where
did
the-
that in the, did we?
Where the
Jenkins
residents, well, not really. Would the residents were invited in to see the interior of the building? I don't,
Yeah, I'll look into that, okay, and we'll circle
okay.
back.
Thank you.
Do you want to look into that? Okay, thank you, Mr. Froyo. Superintendent DeRusi will look into that and report back to us, okay? Any other questions on Mr. Iavino's item? Hearing none, we're now going to move on to the wellness policy, and this will be spoken to by Ms. Cabral.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask the committee to have this sent back to the policy subcommittee for reevaluation. I'd like to see it reworded so that we are allowed to have in the schools that half hour after school to allow the sale of the non-competitive food items. That still falls under the regulations, under the Mass Department of Public Health. It affects this, the teachers of the schools who are trying to have fundraisers for the students, and these funds cover, you know, items that cannot be covered regularly from the principal. If there is need of a new DVD or a new screen or something of that effect, these funds that the teachers of the Ferryway School have put together this after-school sale of popsicles, and unfortunately it's something that they can no longer do. And it really affects their budget, because with that money they also like to, for the students who cannot go on the field trips, if there's something extra in those funds, they would like to support those students. So it's something that I'd like to have looked at. Eventually, I'd like to have the whole policy relooked at, but for the purpose of having this implemented by the next school year, I just have to like this little section reevaluated.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cabral. We want to hear from the school superintendent on this matter. Superintendent DeRusi.
Thank you. I think we addressed this through the PTO, the district-wide PTO groups, where Cheryl McGuire came to us, presented at one of the meetings, and they could sell the, for want of a better, the popsicles, if they purchase them through the schools, because there's a list of food that is school-approved. And if the popsicles meet a certain, I know, look at what we're talking about, a certain requirement by the state to be deemed as healthy snacks, they can be sold. I just took a note. I will revisit that. We have a PTO district-wide coming up this Friday. I thought we cleared that up, that they could sell as long as it was purchased through Cheryl's list, and I think she provided the list, but I will double-check. This was addressed, I thought, back in October and November, but I'll follow up.
Okay, questions, other questions? Let's go to Ms. DiMaria. Did you want to counter, Ms. Cabral? Yeah. All right, Ms. Cabral?
Okay, the only reason I'd like to have it readdressed is because right in the policy, it says there'll be no food fundraiser sales. Yeah. And it's very specific. So if it could be reworded to show that, that's what I'm asking for the policy subcommittee to look at.
All right, good point. Let's go to Ms. DiMaria, and then we'll go to Mr. Winslow.
Mr. Chairman, Jen, I totally agree with you, and I think that anything we can do to enhance profits to our PTO, they are a great asset to the city and to the students. And as part of the policy committee, through the chair, we'll make sure that that's back on there, and thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, thank you, Ms. DiMaria. Mr. Winslow.
Yeah, and I have, I've looked at the policy as well as we had adopted our policy before the Mass Department of Public Health had implemented their regulations. So their regulations do allow the sale of food during the school period, as long as it is meeting their standards. So our policy is a little bit overly restrictive, and Ms. Cabral's pointed that out. So I think I recommended that this would be the approach to take, and we can look at that and make that adjustment so that, especially we're working on the new handbook, so this can be adjusted so it's in the new handbook, and that the PTOs can understand what the limitations are. And we'll work with Ms. McGuire to make sure it works out that way as well. So.
All right. Any other questions? Ms. Doucette, and then I'll go to Mr. Weldy.
Yes, I also support Jen. I fully believe that there should be able to be food, especially raising money for needed items that cannot be covered by the budget. So yes, I'm on the policy committee. I'll definitely look into it also.
Okay,
My support.
thank you,
Thank
Ms. Doucette. To my right, Mr. Weldy.
I just want to thank Ms. Cabral for bringing this up. I mean, it's probably just good practice to reexamine our policies every so often anyway, so I'll make a motion to refer this to policy.
Actually, it'll be a motion by Ms. Cabral.
Oh.
So motion by Ms. Cabral. Any other discussion? Superintendent Jerusi?
While we're looking at this policy, new information from the state is now asking that food policies extend to any school event on school grounds. So now we have to look at, we have to look at what we're serving at football games. We have to look at what we're so if, instead of having to do this twice, I think we need to find what the current regs are coming down from the state, because now I know, like, the Bianchi sausages that go on at the football stadium might not meet the health, I'm just throwing that out there. I was driving to work today, I heard that on the radio, and I said to myself, what else can they possibly ask the schools to monitor and control? So any school event now that is on school grounds or school property needs to come under this wellness policy.
Okay, thank you.
So let's do it right once.
Thank you, Superintendent Jerusi. Next up will be Mr. Iavino.
As long as we're going to look at that policy, let's make sure that in that policy, there is something is clearly spelled out about the fact that if children are going to receive bread as part of their lunch, that we have to take into account a child or children in our school system who may have celiac disease. And we have to make preparations, special preparations, so that that child or those children will be protected, because as we know that that's a very, very serious situation and can cause serious damage. So I would ask that if you're going to check that, Superintendent DeRusi, would you please make sure that that is also in there?
Okay, good point, Mr. Iavino. Ms. Doucette?
And on the heel of that, also look at other food allergies, because there are more and more children now that have foodborne allergies, and that they definitely need to be addressed. And also, we should look into the fact whether there are EpiPens available in the schools. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doucette. No other questions? We have a motion by Ms. Cabral to refer this to the Policy Subcommittee, seconded by Mr. Iavino. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody here opposed? The ayes have it. The policy is referred to the Policy Subcommittee. Next order of business, continuing on under consent agenda, we are now about to vote on a memorandum of agreement with the cafeteria workers. So who wants to lead the way? Would it be Mr. Iavino?
I'd be happy to make a motion that the school committee vote in a positive way on the memorandum of agreement with the cafeteria workers that was reached last year. But as we were told by our negotiator, there were some housekeeping items that had to be addressed, and hence the delay. So I would make a motion that we vote positively on that agreement. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Iavino, seconded by Ms. Doucette. Any other questions? Any questions? Everybody understand the vote before you? Okay, we'll have the clerk call the roll.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. DiMaria? Abstain. Ms. Doucette? Yes. Mr. Froyle? Yes. Mr. Iavino?
Yes.
Mr. Weldy?
Yes.
Mr. Winslow?
I have to recuse myself, so I abstain.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes. Okay, and the vote carries. We are at the end of our agenda. The final item is personal privilege. We'll go left to right. Anybody have points of personal privilege? Okay, we'll go to my right. Ms. Di Maria.
I just want to give a shout out to all the schools. Last Wednesday, May 2nd, every K through 8 school walked with our walking school bus in conjunction with Safe Routes to School. We had a great percentage. We had many principals and assistant principals walking, and it was a beginning of a new healthy Malden. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Di Maria. Mr. Winslow?
Yeah, I do want to thank the members of the policy committee for their work on the school calendar. Definitely the leadership of the new members was very important there, as well as guidance from the mayor and other folks. So I really appreciate everybody's input on that, and I think we have really come up with something very good. So thanks everybody on the committee for expressing yourself and being fair and understanding and working towards that new vision for Malden. The other thing is June 3rd, a little early this year, is Bike to the Sea Day, so we're excited that the first stretch of trail is going to open up in Everett, and we're going to be coming into Malden, so come out on June 3rd for that. So excited to see that.
Excellent. Any other comments? Mr. Weldy?
Just a few quick notes. One is to echo the comments Mrs. Di Maria made to congratulate all those involved in Walk to School Day, which seemed to be a great success. I know over at the Forestdale, I'm looking at Dr. Orm, that Dr. Orm and Mrs. Carpenito were both able to participate, and it seemed like it went swimmingly. So I'm glad to see that up and running and in a bigger capacity than it has been in previous years. The other is to congratulate Malden Reeds for their culminating event at the Salem Wood School, which was the soccer extravaganza. So a big shout out to Malden Reeds and to Kenny Antonucci for Malden Youth Soccer for helping to put that on. And just to echo what the superintendent said, I really urge and hope everyone participates in that online survey. I think having candid feedback from the people that we serve and the people that our school system affects the most is so important. So check out the patch, check out the website, and you'll find it up there. The only other note, just to echo what Mr. Winslow said, is how proud I am that we do have a committee that was able to move forward with what we move forward with today. So I'm very honored to be working with such a great group of people. So have a great month and have a wonderful Memorial Day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Weldy. Ms. Doucette?
I was just given word that a foreign language teacher from the Forestdale School recently passed. ESL, yes, and her funeral was today. Her name is Donna Gadara. Could we please have a moment of silence for her to remember what
Yes.
wonderful works? Thank
Let's
you.
do that. Please rise. Thank you. If I might, from the chair, just want to remind the body that Malden will be honoring its veterans, as always, on Memorial Day. We will have the annual parade beginning at 10 a.m., and we'll gather at the corner of Ferry, Salem, and Main Street, and we'll march to the Forestdale Cemetery, where we'll have a ceremony, and then we'll march back, and I think this year they're going to go all the way up to City Hall. Of course, the Malden Public Schools will be playing a prominent role. The bands, I think Ms. Cabral, along with City Councilor Crow, are organizing an essay contest out of the Ferryway School, so the schools will be well represented at this event on May 28th at 10 a.m. Also, just want to let the world know that you have a very proud mayor here, because notice was given to me that the city of Malden took the cup in the Mayor's Cup battle between Malden and Melrose. Yep. Came down to the last match. Varsity baseball on Friday night was able to win 5-4, and so the Mayor's Cup will be resting here in the city of Malden for the next year. And then what better way to end our evening of deliberations than by making sure we all stop and pause tomorrow and recognize that it will be National Teacher Day, Tuesday, May 8th, 2012. And I see a round of applause has started. Let's join her. Okay, and then we just want to close with the superintendent, Superintendent DeRusi.
I would like to invite the school committee on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Adam was nice enough to secure the temple once again for an informational meeting. We're going to bring up the evaluation, so I could bring it's a district-wide staff up to date on the evaluation, the new ELL regulations, and the park exams that are all coming down the pike. It's an informational, keep people in the loop. Information is good, takes the anxiety away. So I'd like to invite the school committee members if you can make it.
Thank you, Superintendent DeRusi. Mr. Weldice made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Ms. Cabral. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. School committee is hereby adjourned.
Guys, we're getting better.